Most people completely misunderstand how business registration in Indonesia actually works, and that confusion has cost foreign entrepreneurs months of delays, unexpected legal issues, and sometimes even the complete shutdown of their plans before they even begin. Because if you're thinking about setting up what people casually call an LLC in Indonesia, there's something extremely important you need to know first. Indonesia does not technically use the term LLC. And yet, thousands of people search for it every month, assuming it works just like in the United States. And that misunderstanding is exactly where the journey begins. Let's imagine a man named Michael, an entrepreneur from California. Michael has been running a small online retail business, and after seeing growing demand from Southeast Asia, he decides he wants to expand. He hears that Indonesia has one of the fastest growing digital economies in the world, with millions of new consumers entering the middle class. So he types into Google, "How to register LLC in Indonesia," expecting a simple step-by-step process. But what he finds instead is a confusing mix of legal terms like PT, PTMA, OS system, notary deeds, and investment approvals. And at that moment, Michael realizes something important. This is not going to be as simple as forming a company back home. And this is where most people either give up or make costly mistakes. But here's where things get interesting. Because once you understand the system correctly, Indonesia actually offers one of the most structured and opportunity-rich business registration frameworks in Southeast Asia. You just need to understand how it really works. So let's break it down clearly, step by step, in a way that feels simple, even if you've never registered a company anywhere in the world before. First, you need to understand the most important concept. In Indonesia, the closest equivalent to an LLC is called a PT, which stands for Perseroan Terbatas. Think of it as a limited liability company. But if you are a foreign investor like Michael, you cannot just register a basic PT in most cases. Instead, you usually need what is called a PTPMA, which stands for Foreign Investment Company. And this is where Sarah enters our story. Sarah is a freelance designer from Australia. She wants to legally operate in Indonesia because she plans to move to Bali and work with international clients while building a small creative agency. She assumes she can just register an LLC online. But when she speaks to a local consultant, she hears something that completely changes her understanding. "You don't just register a company here," the consultant tells her. "You build an investment structure." And that single sentence shifts everything. Because in Indonesia, a company is not just a business formality. It is tied directly to investment regulations, ownership structure, industry classification, and government approval systems. And this is where most people feel overwhelmed. But don't worry, because once you break it into layers, it becomes very logical. Let's start with the foundation. The first major step in registering a PTPMA in Indonesia is determining your business activity. This is done through something called KBI codes, which are essentially classification numbers that define what your business does. For example, if Michael wants to sell products online, he will need an e-commerce related KBI code. If Sarah wants to run a design agency, she will need a creative services code. And here's where a critical detail appears that most beginners miss. Not all business activities are open to foreign ownership. Some sectors are restricted, some require local partnerships, and some have minimum capital requirements. And this is where things can go very wrong. Because imagine David, another entrepreneur, who decides to open a food and beverage business in Bali without checking restrictions. He invests time, money, and branding into the idea, only to later discover that his chosen business activity requires a different structure and additional approvals. And suddenly, everything slows down. But there's a smarter way to handle this. Before doing anything else, you must check the positive investment list, which defines which sectors are open to foreign ownership and under what conditions. Once you have your KBI code and confirm eligibility, the next step is capital structure. Now, this is where Indonesia becomes very different from countries like the US or UK. For a PTPMA, there is usually a minimum investment threshold, often around 10 billion Indonesian rupiah in total planned investment, though this does not always mean you must deposit all of it up front in cash. Instead, it represents your declared business scale. And this is where many people misunderstand the system. Emily, a digital entrepreneur from New York, almost abandoned her plan when she heard this number. She thought she needed hundreds of thousands of dollars in a bank account immediately. But after consulting a professional, she learned something important. The investment amount is often a business declaration, not a full upfront deposit requirement in most service-based sectors. And that realization changed everything for her. Because suddenly, Indonesia didn't feel impossible anymore. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Once your business structure and investment plan are clear, the actual registration process begins through a system called OSRBA, which stands for Online Single Submission, Risk-Based Approach. Think of this as Indonesia's central business licensing portal. Instead of going to multiple government offices, everything starts here. But don't be fooled by the word online. The process still involves legal documentation, notarization, and coordination with government bodies. So let's walk through what actually happens. First, you need a legal entity deed created by a licensed Indonesian notary. This document defines your company structure, shareholders, directors, and business purpose. Michael initially thought he could just fill out a form online. But when he learns about the notary requirement, he realizes this is a formal legal process, not just digital registration. And here's a key moment. This is where many foreign entrepreneurs decide to work with a local legal consultant or corporate service provider, because the documents must be prepared in Bahasa Indonesia and follow strict legal formatting. Once the deed is completed, it is submitted to the Ministry of Law and Human Rights for approval. This step officially recognizes your company as a legal entity. And what happens next is crucial. After approval, you move into the OSS system to obtain your business identification number, known as NIB. The NIB is extremely important. It acts like a master business ID that allows you to operate legally, import goods, hire employees, and register for tax purposes. At this stage, Sarah feels something shift. She goes from, "I have an idea," to, "I have a real company." But there is still more to complete. Because after the NIB, you also need tax registration, called NPWP, and depending on your industry, additional operational licenses. And this is where the process can either feel overwhelming or empowering. Because if you understand the sequence, it becomes like building blocks rather than obstacles. But here's the hidden insight most people never hear. Indonesia's system is actually designed to standardize and formalize business activity, not block it. The complexity exists to ensure serious investment and proper classification, especially for foreign-owned companies. And once you understand that, everything starts to make sense. Now let's return to David's story for a moment. After struggling with his initial attempt, David decides to restart the process properly. He carefully selects his KBI code, consults on ownership structure, and prepares documentation in advance. And this time, instead of rushing, he follows each step in order. Deed creation, legal approval, OS registration, TANORTY, NIB issuance, tax registration, operational licensing. And slowly, what once felt like a maze starts to feel like a roadmap. But there's one more critical detail that can make or break your entire setup. Banking.di. Because once your company is registered, you will likely need a corporate bank account in Indonesia. And banks often require physical presence, additional compliance documents, and proof of business activity. This is where many entrepreneurs hit their final unexpected delay. But Sarah approaches this differently. She prepares her documentation early, works with her notary to ensure consistency across all records, and schedules her banking appointment immediately after receiving her NIB. And because of that preparation, her transition is smooth instead of stressful. Now, at this point in the journey, something important happens mentally. Michael, Sarah, Emily, and David all started with confusion. They thought they were simply forming a foreign LLC in Indonesia. But by the end of the process, they realized something deeper. They are not just registering a company. They are entering a structured investment ecosystem designed to regulate and support long-term business growth in Indonesia. And that shift in understanding changes how they operate. Because instead of rushing, they plan. Instead of guessing, they verify. Instead of improvising, they structure. And this is where success truly begins. But here's the final insight most people overlook. Once your PTPMA is established, Indonesia opens up significant opportunities in digital services, consulting, trading, hospitality, and many emerging sectors. But ongoing compliance is just as important as registration itself. Annual reporting, tax filings, and license maintenance are part of staying fully compliant. And businesses that ignore this often run into issues later, even if their initial setup was correct. So the real secret is not just registering the company. It's maintaining it properly from day one. And now, when Michael finally looks back at the process, what once felt like a complicated bureaucratic system now feels like a structured gateway into one of the most dynamic markets in Asia. He didn't just open an LLC. He built a legally compliant foreign investment company